I'm WG, and forbidden cards are the strongest cards to come out of Season 1. So how do you get them? Because there's a way to guarantee a forbidden tunnel encounter. And how do you take advantage of every single one combo-wise? Let's talk about it. So, first off, whenever there's two question marks next to each other, two question marks in a row, that guarantees you a forbidden tunnel encounter. It doesn't make a difference if there's in a row or if one is at the bottom and then you move up into a question mark. So long as there's two question marks next to each other, moving from question mark to question mark, you're guaranteed a forbidden tunnel encounter, which then gives you a chance of obtaining a forbidden card in the first place. So now that you know how to get them, how do you get multiple in the same deck? There is two ways for you to do that. Way number one is by finding the Or Rain encounter in its rare version, which allows you to duplicate any card and gives you the chance to pick a forbidden card to duplicate. That is the only way to duplicate forbidden cards and the only way to get two forbidden cards in one run. And then way number two, and that should not under any means be underestimated, is the Spirit Key Fox. You can run the Spirit Key Fox on your support, and that is going to allow you to, from the draw pile, choose and duplicate one forbidden card. These two are incredibly strong and can kinda take combos to that next level, you could say. So then, regardless of which forbidden card you're playing, getting Confiscation is almost a must, because it's a zero cost draw one, and it also gets you a forbidden card that you've played the last turn or a forbidden card out of your draw pile. So yeah, Confiscation is a no-brainer, though keep in mind, if you have a Confiscation and you currently have a sealed forbidden card, meaning a forbidden card you just picked up from a tunnel, you're going to pull it with this Confiscation and it's going to apply the debuff. So you should not use Confiscations unless you've unsealed the forbidden card by beating the boss of the stage that you've gotten the forbidden card on. So now that we have the basics out of the way, let's talk about the cards one by one. First off, the Forbidden Portrait of Fury is a, pretty much a very solid DPS card, in that it gives you a 70% damage times 1, and for every 4 cards in hand plus 1 hit, meaning it caps out at you having 8 cards in hand at a 70% times 3 hitter. But what is important here is that for every hit, you also get a draw. So at base, at less than 4 cards, you draw 1. At 4 or above, you draw 2, and at 8 or above, you draw 3. Though if you have 9 cards in hand and you play this card, you will only be able to draw 2 due to the hand size limit. So playing this card at 8 cards in hand gives it its maximum value. So Forbidden Portrait of Fury, how you can take advantage of this is by playing this with somebody, or in general with neutral cards that have Retain. If you have Retain cards in hand, that more reliably allows you to have more turns during which you have this 4 or better 8 card hand requirement. And then playing around with the amount of cards you have in hand and potentially playing this after drawing from other sources first is your best course of action. And then, as we've already mentioned it, the Confiscation can then allow you to also get that basically every single turn. Important to note here also, Confiscation can be run on anyone. You don't have to run Confiscation on the DPS that has the forbidden card. You can also just smash that on your supports, or even farm it in separate ways. You don't have to farm Confiscation for a support in the same run you're farming a forbidden card. So this one is pretty straightforward, pretty normal, and just benefits from card draw, benefits from retain cards, benefits from you using it multiple times, right? Also can be particularly effective on somebody like a Yuki, who is reliant on card draw to get the inspiration card effects for her cards, as well as can also make use of that extra damage for that single target potential, and in general better on hyper carries than on a more mixed team setup, the Forbidden Portrait of Fury. So that is that. Now we come to one of the biggest highlights of the season, and that is the Ecstasy of Violence. The Ecstasy of Violence is a retain card, meaning it always stays in your hand until you play it. Starts at a ridiculous 9, but is actually way better than you think. And that is because when drawing by an ability decreases cost by 1, means through any way, shape or form drawing cards reduces this card's cost. And now comes the kicker. It already reduces its cost while it's in the draw pile. This card already goes down by cost every time you draw without it even being on your hand. That is what makes this so truly strong. And the way you can take this to the next level on any character is by just running, for example, Belligerence. Belligerence can draw you 2, reducing the cost by 2. Then you have Reorganize, drawing you 3, a 3 cost reduction. Gearback, reducing the cost by 2. Or then even more standard options like, for example, the newly added Aggressive Mutant to draw an attack card to reduce characters having draws themselves, like Veronica, like Mei-Lin, like Yuki. All that is working towards that cost reduction. Even cards like Sadism, if it's the only attack card in your hand, due to it retain being something that you can force, you could also reduce the attack cost further with something like a Sadism, or even with like a Rally or a Attack exclamation mark. Like, this card really truly goes on everybody, on everyone, and every DPS would be happy to have this card in their hand. And then to top it all off, it is a 150% times 4. So any additive or even multiplicative damage bonuses you put on this card are going to be 4 times as valuable. So for example, like a Ray boosting card, increasing this damage by 100% takes this from a 600% damage to an already 1000% damage by increasing it to a 250% multiplier. Forbidden Ecstasy of Violence is damn ridiculous. So yeah, obviously Confiscation again then counts as a draw card, draws the card itself, allows you to draw the card if you've played it the last turn. Like, it is truly disgusting what you can do with these two cards. Next up we have the Gesture of Freedom. Gesture of Freedom is definitely on the weaker side, but what it does, it allows you to get it with Outbreak of War, so you'll always have it at the beginning of your run, or I guess initiation as it's now called, and then you have it Exhaust, meaning you can only play it once, meaning the synergy between it and the Confiscation is almost non-existent due to it, after being exhausted, not being able to be pulled again. And what it then does, it decreases the cost of a random card in hand by 1, but the important part here is it's not by 1 for 1 turn, but for the whole duration of the fight. So if you have, for example, a key card like one thing that I could think of instantly at the top of my head would be you and a Rin, right? You with a Rin and playing this Epiphany that allows you to move the Darkness Secret Art Annihilation or Darkness Secret Art Black Dance to your hand, and then if you reduce either the Darkness Secret Art Annihilation or Black Dance to 0 cost, then you only need to pay 1 AP for the whole combo. And then if you, for example, have the 1 AP Godly Epiphany on this, it is a combo that costs you exactly 0 AP, or it could even become positive AP by having either 1 AP on the Darkness Secret Art Annihilation, or I guess reducing the cost of Darkness Secret Art Annihilation and running the 1 cost reduction Epiphany on it can allow you to basically play AP positive Rin. AP positive Rin, so long as you then follow that up with further card draw and the like, you'll basically be able to spam out a whole bunch of attack cards. And the main way you have to think about this card is either you just take it as okay, whatever, it boosts turn 1, that's alright, right? It's whatever. Or you find cards that you know that you're going to be using a whole lot. Cards that you know that we're going to use a whole lot during a fight, and that is then your goal, to use that first turn to play out all the other cards to guarantee that the cost decrease goes onto the card you want, so that you can spam it throughout the duration of the fight. Like, for example, yeah, the Rin example, or any other cards you can think of that you're using a whole bunch throughout the fight, regardless, that you can get to your hand reliably multiple times per fight. Now, next up we have the Forbidden Eternal Hunger. The way this card works is that if you pull it, it stays in your hand and it doesn't have a play effect. Playing this card, the only thing it does is exhaust the card and take it out of the fight. What it does have is an attunement effect, which triggers whenever this card is drawn. So your main goal is to draw this card as many times as possible during a fight. Now, how do you accomplish that? There's two ways. Way number one is by discarding the card. If you discard the card, it goes into the draw pile, and then after shuffling your deck, you'll be able to draw it again another time, or even by discarding the card itself and then using somebody like a Cassius and then the Joker card to pull the card out of the graveyard to make Joker AP neutral by you pulling the card. So basically Joker turns into a draw one interaction. It's not the craziest thing in the world, but that is by discarding the card. Now, what if instead of discarding the card, you just put it back into the deck? And the best character to do that is definitely going to be Nia, where you can draw one card, discard the card, and then move the discarded card to the top of the draw pile. And then you could even use another source of draw, because if it's at the top of the draw pile, it's guaranteed to be drawn next. So if you, for example, use Adagio to draw a card, put it at the top of the draw pile, and then use another one, you can then draw that card again, get the 1 AP, get the extra draw, draw another card, or use Adagio after normal pull to put it again back onto the top of the draw pile to draw a bunch of cards. But then there is also another way outside of Nia to reliably put your cards back at the top of the draw pile, and that comes from the Chaos Manifestation, and the Bug Planet, and that is the card right here, Precision Aim. If you go for level 25 Exploration on the Bug Planet, you can use Precision Aim. What it does, it works on Rangers, it works on Hunters, it does 120% damage, draws you one, costs you nothing, and allows you to select one card from your hand and move them to the top of the draw pile. So basically like an Adagio, if not even a little better. So these are the two main ways to then put it at the top of your draw pile, draw it again, get the AP, get the draw, put it back, get the AP, get the draw, put it back, you get the deal. The synergy is honestly quite impressive there, though the card can feel a little lackluster if you don't have a Nia, if you don't have a Ranger, if you don't have a Precision Aim during your run. But if you do, if you actually care about it or manage to set it up properly, there can be some pretty disgusting shenanigans. And I guess just as an honorable mention, there's obviously also the monster card, and that is, let's see, this one specifically, the Chilling Godfather. If you ever get this dropped, this allows you to put a card from your hand to the bottom of the draw pile, which would then at least still allow you to draw the card again or pick it out with more dedicated deck searches. But you really mainly want to take advantage of this by either using Nia's Adagio or by using Precision Aim in synergy with the Forbidden Eternal Hunger. So yeah, obviously the moment you are able to discard the Forbidden Eternal Hunger, the moment you're able to put it back into the draw pile in any way, shape or form, you can then use Confiscation to pull the card back out. That is like your main way of deck searching after discarding, instead of having to put it onto the top of the draw pile. Now, next up is the Forbidden Disposable Ego. It allows you to draw one, and based on the card of the cost of the card that you've drawn, you are going to be able to draw more. Once again, obvious synergy with the Confiscation, so you can pull it every single turn. But this card in particular mostly benefits from you playing with AP heavy units. It just makes sense. If the cards of your units, if the average of your deck is AP higher, that just gives more value to this card, allowing it to, for example, if you draw into a Vulture Ejection, draw one, and then also allow you to draw 3 more times for the AP cost. So kind of like how Forbidden Eternal Hunger wants to be put on the top of the draw pile, you really want to make sure that a really AP heavy card is at the top of your draw pile, so that you can then use Forbidden Disposable Ego to draw a bunch of cards. So what you could do, for example, is if you get Forbidden Disposable Ego on like a Nia, on like a Cassius, and if you have Forbidden Ecstasy of Violence in on your DPS, you could use something like an Adagio to put Forbidden Ecstasy of Violence onto the top of your draw pile, draw that card with Forbidden Disposable Ego, and instantly reduce the cost of Forbidden Ecstasy of Violence to 0. Like, you would be able to like turn this into a 0 cost card if that's something you desire. It's something you can think about, but obviously it doesn't have to be that one. You can also just put any high cost cards on the deck, or just play a high cost card deck in general, like a Haru deck, like a Kalib, to just make more use of the Forbidden Disposable Ego. So that's kind of how you want to take advantage of this card. Then again, you can use Adagios, you can use Precision Aim to dedicate the top of the draw pile and what this actually draws into. Now, Forbidden Engraved Malice is a lead card, meaning it has a 50% chance to reduce its cost at the start of the turn. So if you draw it at the start of your turn, and then it draws you one and it activates 2 random cards in hand. The main way you can take advantage of this is by either making sure you play out all your low cost AP cards, so that you can then basically use AP that you don't have by playing this card at the end, and then playing out one or both of your leftover cards at the end of your turn. Or the main item you definitely want to run with this card with is kind of the star of this season in general, and that has to be the multifaceted Parallel Universe Nexus, because it allows you to play this card at 0 cost. So you play a 0 cost card that draws you one and plays 2 cards for free. The only issue, I guess you could say, with that card is the fact that it plays random cards, so it might fuck up some of your combos. So I wouldn't really recommend it playing with like a very combo heavy character. Like, for example, if you play this with the Rin and this card plays an attack card that's not one of Rin's, that could break the combo. But overall, it's still a pretty darn good card, though with more limited ceiling potential than the other Forbidden cards we've already talked about. So that one is that. And then obviously, right, it says 2 random, so you can manipulate the RNG by just having less cards in hand, or you pretty much just let it do what it does, and it kind of reduces like that Mika reliance, really. And then obviously you'll be able to pull that every single turn with Confiscation again, yada yada. Bringing us to lastly, I guess, I mean, we can talk about it, right? The Forbidden Algorithm, I would honestly say it's a worth it pickup, because you are creating 1 of 7 cards, and the only real dot, depending on how you look at it, might just be Forbidden Guidance of Futility for like more offensively geared or value return during a run, or maybe Forbidden Eternal Hunger if you have nothing prepared for it to take advantage of it. But I would say Forbidden Algorithm, especially with, again, the triangle that insta-plays your lead cards, is just a good value. And because it's create, it also means that, for example, Forbidden Disposable Ego will stay. The Forbidden Eternal Hunger can be taken advantage of multiple times, and Forbidden Ecstasy of Violence as well. And if you have multiple Forbidden cards in your hand, you will be able to also pull all of them with the Confiscation, because the only limit on Confiscation is not being able to get Forbidden cards that you've played this same turn. So then lastly, Forbidden Guidance of Futility. It's an Outbreak of War card, meaning you'll be able to play it at the beginning of every one of your turns, and when drawing by an ability, meaning through either a card or a partner or whatever, you heal for 40% and decrease stress of a random combatant by 1. This is a no-brainer that if you actually get it or end up in a situation where you pick it, you put it on your support, and then the more card draw you have, the more healing you get. So for example, a draw 2 healing, draw 3 healing here. Or if you might have already seen the connection, is for a Nia to get additional card draw and healing, a Ray to have card draw and healing, a Beryl with card draw and healing, or somebody like a Cassius. Cassius can pretty much turn into a main healer with that, with, for example, cards like the Shuffle just drawing you a massive amount of cards, and that then allowing you to allowing you to just heal yourself up through the use of card draw with, for example, Devil Dice, or even the quest cards. Let's see right here, giving you a draw 1. Come on, this is the quest cards. Can I get the You know the card that I'm talking about, right? Like one of his cards then allowing you to draw 1 for 0 cost. So you can kind of treat it as more of like a healer support, which can be useful every time you're not running Miko or every time you're kind of solo healing. Then again, it's not necessarily the highest value forbidden card out of all the other forbidden cards we've gotten access to this season. So I hope you were able to take something away from this. I hope you were able to maybe spark some ideas in your head as well. If you think I've missed any obvious forbidden combos, let me know down in the comments below. And as usual, I appreciate it very much for you tuning in, and we see each other in the next one. Peace.